Welcome. I'm Dr. Eric Betts, and I am a professor with Hampton University School of Religion. One of the first courses that a doctoral student will take in the School of Religion is Ecclesiology and Contemporary Society. Oftentimes, incoming scholars will email me before the course begins, curious about what to expect, what they should read beforehand to prepare. And so I decided to just create this video to provide for you some of my thinking and what you can expect in my course. So the first course, once again, is Ecclesiology and Contemporary Society. This will be your first course if you are an incoming doctoral student. Both Doctor of Ministry and PhD in Public Theology. And I want to say to the Doctor of Ministry students, even though I'm speaking in the language of public theology, my expectation in terms of scholarship for Doctor of Ministry students is the same for uh, those who are uh, taking PhD in public theology. So let me begin by congratulating you on your admission to Hampton University School of Religion. If you're watching this video, you're beginning a new stage in your scholarly journey, and I genuinely look forward to learning alongside with you over the next several weeks. Based on the research interests of many students entering this program, I believe that you are going to really appreciate this course. We will be asking difficult theological questions about the church, justice, race, reparations, reconciliation, public life, and Christian responsibility. These are not merely academic questions, these are questions that shape congregations, communities, institutions, and public policy. Before we begin talking about assignments and schedules, I want to say something about doctoral education itself. A doctoral program is different from almost every other educational experience you have had. Graduate education is not simply about acquiring more information, it is about becoming a scholar. That means developing new habits of mind, learning how to read patiently, learning how to think theologically and critically, learning how to write carefully, learning how to enter an ongoing scholarly conversation with humility, confidence, and intellectual honesty. Over these next several weeks, my goal is not simply that you complete assignments. My goal is that you begin thinking more like a public theologian. And if you are a doctor of ministry student, that you begin thinking as a pastoral theological scholar. You may hear people describe themselves oftentimes, and you may be one of them, as visual learners, auditory learners, or hands-on learners. For that reason, you'll notice that I intentionally will use conceptual diagrams, visual frameworks, graphics, and recorded lectures throughout the course. But I want to gently remind you of something important, particularly if you describe yourself as a visual learner. Doctoral education prepares you for a vocation, and that vocation is still largely built upon sustained reading, careful writing, and thoughtful engagement with text. The daily work of professors, researchers, theologians, and public intellectuals consists primarily of reading books, journal articles, dissertations, historical documents, and student manuscripts. Visual resources are helpful. They provide scaffolding, but they are not the structure itself. One of the goals of doctoral education is expanding your intellectual capacities, not simply accommodating your current learning preferences. In other words, we are developing scholarly habits together. So while in the past, as you are a visual learner, you were taught, you learned through visual frameworks as a PhD student, your task now is to turn text into visuals for yourself and for those that you will teach. The syllabus for Ecclesiology and Contemporary Society will be available in Canvas on August the 14th. The course itself will not become officially available until Monday the 17th of August, which will be when the course officially begins. Please don't worry if you cannot access it immediately. Everything will open at the appropriate time. If questions arise before then, however, and you have access to your email, I'm always happy to help. This course follows a very predictable weekly rhythm. Our required Zoom meetings will take place during weeks 1, 4, and 7. Those sessions are held on Fridays from 7 until 8:30 p.m. during those weeks 1, 4, and 7. From time to time, I also hold informal Zoom office hours on Tuesdays or Thursdays, or both Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. Students, even if they don't have any questions or any immediate concerns, sometimes they would check in and become a part of those joint office hours because there may be several scholars uh, who will enter into the Zoom portal with me at the same time. And so as I'm answering a question from one student, sometimes it answers the same question for another student. Or the other student may not have thought about uh, something pertaining to the course that another student will bring out. But students often discover that these conversations become some of the richest discussions of the semester. There are four required texts in this course. Our primary text is Reparations, a Christian call to repentance and repair by Duke Kwan and Gregory Thompson. Each week you will complete assigned readings, but I don't simply want you to read. I want you to learn how to read as a scholar. For that reason, each week you will prepare a full sentenced alphanumeric outline that extracts the major ecclesiological and theological claims made by the authors. Rather than merely collecting quotations, you will identify arguments, patterns, concepts, theological assumptions. You will also prepare teaching questions as though you are responsible for teaching the material yourself. Preparing to teach is one of the best ways to learn. Each week, you will also watch recorded lectures embedded in Canvas. These lectures are not summaries of the reading. They are designed to enter into conversation with the reading. Sometimes they will reinforce it, Sometimes they will complicate it, sometimes they will challenge it. The goal is synthesis. I want you to I want you thinking across multiple scholars rather than simply mastering one book at a time. Each week, you will also participate in our discussion board. Your initial discussion should be approximately 300 words. Your responsibility is not really to answer the prompt, it is to think theologically. Then you will engage with your fellow scholars in the class by responding thoughtfully to their work. Your responses, both both to the prompt and to your peer, should reflect the polished scholarship and sophistication of a doctoral level writer. Also, remember that this is collaborative scholarship. One practice I strongly encourage is checking your Hampton email and Canvas each day, every day. There will be times when I contact you about an assignment, ask for clarification, or I notify you of something that needs your immediate attention. If several days pass before you respond, it may result in work being submitted late or opportunities to resolve an issue being missed. As outlined in the syllabus, late work is subject to 10% deduction for each day it is overdue. Likewise, make it a habit to log into Canvas daily and read the course announcements. Many questions that arise throughout the semester are answered before they become problems. The announcements are an extension of our classroom and often contain important reminders, clarifications, and updates. Finally, give your full attention during our Zoom sessions. If you decide to take your video down, and let's say, for example, you are listening in, but you don't have a video there, uh, it is difficult to know whether or not you're actually present. And if your video is not there, it may not, you may not be able to receive credit for attendance. But in all of this, remember to give your full attention. Listen carefully, take notes, and pay close attention to the guidance provided in class and through course announcements. Occasionally, a student will question a grade only to discover that the expectation had already been explained during a Zoom meeting or announced in Canvas. Careful attention to course communication will help you avoid unnecessary mistakes and position you for success throughout the semester. Although not required, I highly recommend several readings before the semester begins. And if you read these selected chapters that I'm going to name, it will give you a feel for the philosophy behind the course. Kelly Brown Douglas's Stand Your Ground is one of the texts I encourage you to peruse. This is not one of our required or recommended texts, but these texts have selected readings that complement the course. Kelly Brown Douglas's Stand Your Ground. I encourage you to read chapter 5 entitled Jesus and Trayvon, the Justice of God. I also encourage you to read, and don't go out of your way to get these texts, but this is only for those who are interested. Um, Read chapter 4 of Kelly Brown Douglas's Resurrection Hope, entitled Resurrecting Reparations. If you have access to James H. Evans Jr.'s We Have Been Believers, Chapter 6 contains an important section entitled Toward an African American Ecclesiology. That reading will provide an excellent conceptual framework for our opening Zoom session. Allow me to conclude by sharing what I value most in doctoral work and how you should approach your writing in this course. First, think rather than merely report. Move beyond describing what the author said. Ask, what does it mean? Why it matters? How it should be interpreted? And how it is applicable to public life. Second, allow theology to shape your arguments. Do not simply insert Bible verses or Bible stories to support conclusions you've already reached. Develop coherent theological reasoning. Avoid what I often call sermonic writing. This is public theology. We write as scholars. We write as thought leaders and public intellectuals. Third, develop your own scholarly voice. Scholarship is a conversation. Your responsibility is not merely to quote scholars, it is to engage them, interpret them, sometimes even challenge them, extend their line of reasoning. Avoid phrases such as, I think, I feel, or in my opinion, or what stood out to me was, instead make thoughtful claims supported by sound theological reasoning and careful scholarship. Fourth, build arguments. Good doctoral writing has a thesis. It develops logically. Each paragraph advances the central claim. Your paper should think progressively, not simply answer one at a time. Fifth, engage scholarship responsibly. Read broadly. Represent scholars fairly. Remember that citations support your thinking. They should never replace your thinking. Sixth, connect theology to live reality. Theology always has consequences, either uh, for good, or theology, if it is ill conceived, can be harmful. Theology always has consequences. Ideas shape churches. Churches shape communities. Communities shape society. One of the central questions we continually ask is, what kind of world does this theology produce? Finally, write with doctoral quality. Precision matters. Organization matters. Flow matters. Coherence matters. Synthesis matters. Definitions matter. APA formatting matters. But above all, clarity of thought matters. Excellent writing is usually the visible expression, the visible expression of disciplined thinking. One final expectation. One final expectation. When we gather during our live sessions, remain within scholarship. When I ask questions, engage with the readings, engage with the lectures, engage the theological conversation. Our classroom is a place for scholarly inquiry. We are certainly people of faith, but in this setting, we are also researchers, theologians, community leaders, and public intellectuals. Those identities complement one another beautifully. Thank you for choosing Hampton University School of Religion. I genuinely look forward to walking alongside you if you're taking my course this semester. Read deeply, think carefully, write courageously, and remember, we are not simply earning another degree. We are being formed into scholars whose theological imagination will influence churches, communities, and the public square. I look forward to seeing you during our first Zoom session. And remember, if anything arises, don't feel like you're bothering me by sending an email allowing me to know what it is that you would like to understand or however I might be able to help. Thank you. I look forward to meeting each of you.